Diddy will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
The buzz surrounding Sean Diddy Combs has reached a fever pitch.
The entertainment world is absolutely exploding with rumors about Sean Diddy Combs possibly getting released from prison. I mean, can you even imagine? This is the kind of plot twist that has everyone's jaws on the floor. The internet is practically breaking with all the theories and supposed insider information floating around. We're talking about one of music's biggest moguls potentially walking free after everything. The scandals, the lawsuits, that earth-shattering indictment that had his empire crumbling around him. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every juicy detail of this story.
We're monitoring another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Word on the street, and when I say street, I mean from some very well-connected sources, is that Diddy's legal dream team has supposedly found what they're calling a major crack in the FBI's case. And honey, it's not just any ordinary legal loophole. We're talking about some seriously explosive allegations about misconduct during their investigation. Let me spill this piping hot tea. Apparently, there was this super controversial raid on Diddy's jail cell, and get this, federal agents allegedly seized materials that were supposed to be completely off limits because of attorney-client privilege. I mean, can you even, if this turns out to be true, it could be the kind of mistake that turns this whole case on its head. But wait, it gets even better. Diddy's lawyers are saying this wasn't just some innocent oopsie, they're claiming it was a calculated move to completely derail his defense. And here's the real gag, they say they've got receipts. According to the story making the rounds, there was this hush-hush meeting with high-level federal officials and prosecutors from the Southern District of New York on the morning of day 2 of the raid. Supposedly, these prosecutors specifically ordered the search of Diddy's cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. His legal team is basically saying, honey, this wasn't about prison safety like they're claiming. This was about digging for dirt to strengthen their case. They're painting it as less about justice and more about stacking the deck against him, and if that's not scandalous enough, they're also claiming investigators were eavesdropping on Diddy's private conversations with his lawyers. Can you believe the audacity? If these allegations turn out to be true, it could be the kind of bombshell that blows this whole case wide open. We're talking about potential evidence being thrown out, the entire investigation being questioned. This could be exactly the lifeline Diddy needs to save himself.
Called this afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, their legal documents, the government's saying no. On the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar.
But darling, that's just the beginning of this wild ride. The gossip mill is churning out even more shocking rumors about what Diddy might do if he actually gets released. And let me tell you, it's not what anyone would expect. Some sources are whispering, and by whispering, I mean practically shouting from the rooftops, that Diddy might try to pull a disappearing act if he gets bail. I know, it sounds absolutely crazy, but with everything he's facing, can we really rule anything out? The internet is absolutely losing it over these escape theories. Some people think he might jet off to some exotic island paradise, while others are convinced he'll use his connections and endless resources to just vanish into thin air. Of course, these are just rumors, but isn't it just deliciously scandalous to think about? Meanwhile, his legal team is working overtime, darling. They filed this dramatic motion claiming that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center are absolutely horrific. We're talking hell on earth levels of bad. Former inmates and legal experts have been spilling all the tea about the overcrowding and understaffing. Diddy's lawyers are bringing receipts about recent violence and neglect, painting this absolutely terrifying picture of dangerous and inhumane conditions. They're arguing that keeping him there while he awaits trial isn't just unfair, it could literally be life-threatening.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are Watch.
And honey, let me tell you about the PR campaign his team is running. It's absolutely genius. They're working overtime to remind everyone about Diddy the icon, the philanthropist, the self-made entrepreneur who built an empire from nothing. They're trying to convince everyone that he's not this monster the media's been portraying, just a flawed human being who's being unfairly targeted. But here's the tea. Not everyone's buying what they're selling. Critics are rolling their eyes, saying Diddy's legal troubles are totally his own doing, and all this finger-pointing at the authorities is just a desperate attempt to dodge responsibility. But I have to say, even some of his biggest critics are raising eyebrows at these accusations about the feds breaking rules. I mean, if they're really willing to bend the law to get a conviction, what does that say about our justice system?
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
Let me tell you something, this drama is far from over. Even if Diddy does get released, he's still facing a mountain of legal troubles that would make Mount Everest look like a molehill. We're talking multiple lawsuits and a trial that's going to be more dramatic than any reality TV show you've ever seen. The big questions on everyone's minds right now are, will he walk out of prison only to face an even bigger battle in court? Or will he actually do the unthinkable and disappear, leaving everyone scrambling? Stay with me, because this story is getting more twisted by the minute. And if there's one thing we've learned so far, it's that absolutely nothing about this case is predictable. Could we be witnessing the beginning of the most shocking comeback in music history? Or is this just the calm before an even bigger storm? Darling, the truth in this case is turning out to be stranger than any fiction writer could dream up. The controversies surrounding Diddy are absolutely mind-blowing, darlings. Let me catch you up on how this whole situation spiraled into what might be the most intense legal battle we've ever seen in the entertainment industry. The allegations against him? Absolutely staggering. Not just because of how serious they are, but because they're completely shattering the glamorous image he spent decades building. Let's rewind and spill all the tea about how this empire started crumbling. Picture this, November 2023. The first bombshell drops when Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner of over 10 years, files this absolutely shocking lawsuit that had everyone's jaws on the floor. The details? Absolutely heartbreaking. She described years of physical and emotional torment in what she called a toxic relationship filled with control and manipulation.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
But honey, what really sent shockwaves through Hollywood were her allegations about these so-called pride events that Diddy supposedly orchestrated. According to Cassie, these weren't your typical star-studded parties. They were disturbing situations where she claims she was forced to participate as part of his pattern of control and intimidation. And the drama doesn't stop there. One of the most talked about claims involved rapper Kid Cudi. Can you believe it? According to Cassie, when Diddy found out Cudi was interested in her, he allegedly went full movie villain mode and had Cudi's car destroyed. Talk about sending a message. The details are absolutely wild. She claims Diddy orchestrated the whole thing after Cudi refused to back off, basically telling everyone, don't mess with what's mine. Now, while Diddy denied everything and kept insisting he was innocent, here's the gag. The case was settled within 24 hours of being filed. I mean, if that doesn't make you raise an eyebrow, I don't know what will. But darling, that was just the beginning of this avalanche of accusations. What happened next was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. One lawsuit after another, each more shocking than the last. We're talking decades of alleged troubling behavior coming to light. First, there was this college student from 1991 who came forward with claims that would make your skin crawl. Allegedly, Diddy recorded their encounter and shared it without her knowledge. Then another woman filed anonymously with a similar story, describing what she called an orchestrated plan that left her feeling completely powerless. And then there's Liza Gardner's story. Absolutely chilling. She claims she was taken advantage of as a teenager in the 1990s, describing incidents that were both violent and terrifying. Even as these lawsuits kept piling up like designer shoes at a sample sale, Diddy's team kept dismissing them as nothing but attempts to cash in on his fame. But honey, when this many people are telling similar stories, it's kind of hard to ignore, isn't it?
A woman is accusing Sean Diddy Combs of and her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
By December 2023, things took an even darker turn, if you can believe that's possible. A woman identified only as Jane Doe came forward with claims that made everyone's blood run cold. She alleged she was manipulated into inappropriate actions when she was underage, describing being given substances that left her barely able to remember what happened. It's the kind of story that makes you want to cry and scream at the same time. The hits just kept coming. An adult film star stepped forward claiming she was lured to Diddy's lavish parties under false pretenses, only to find herself in situations she never agreed to. These accusations were coming faster than designer collections during Fashion Week, and Diddy's reputation as a music mogul was starting to look about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. February 2024 brought yet another shocking twist when Rodney Jones Jr., a music producer who worked on Diddy's latest album, came forward with his own lawsuit. But this one was different, darling. Jones described unwanted advances and alleged grooming attempts, showing that these accusations weren't just coming from women anymore. They were coming from all corners of Diddy's professional and personal life.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
As these lawsuits mounted, Diddy's defense team
May 2024 dropped another bombshell that had everyone gasping. CCTV footage from 2016 surfaced showing an incident between Diddy and Cassie at a Los Angeles hotel. Let me tell you, it was absolutely horrifying. The video showed Diddy allegedly shoving Cassie to the ground and kicking her while she was down. The footage might have been grainy, but what it showed was crystal clear. Diddy's response? He released a statement saying he was disgusted with himself and that it was a low point in his life. But darling, for many people, the damage was already done. This footage seemed to validate everything Cassie had claimed in her lawsuit, and the public was absolutely furious. By summer 2024, the legal troubles were snowballing faster than a winter storm in the Alps. Crystal McKinney, a former model and actress, came forward with graphic allegations about an incident in a New York City recording studio. Then Dawn Richard, who you might remember from Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, filed her own lawsuit. She painted this horrible picture of verbal abuse, overwork, and unwanted advances during her time working with him. It was like watching an empire crumble in real time.
But like I said, you know, the entertainment industry is very, very, very messed up when it comes to, you know, the bigger you get, the more you had to do to get there. And so if you're not willing to put yourself in that position, you kind of have to put your foot down. And so I didn't.
September 2024 brought the moment that changed everything. The grand jury indictment that had the entire entertainment industry shook. After months of investigations, federal prosecutors finally revealed their case against the music mogul, and let me tell you, it was absolutely earth-shattering. They described this elaborate system where Diddy allegedly used his power and resources like pieces on a chessboard, manipulating and controlling everyone around him. The details were absolutely jaw-dropping. We're talking accusations of coercion, bribery, and even attempts to buy people's silence with cash offers. When they took Diddy into custody and denied him bail, it was like watching a Hollywood movie unfold in real life. But here's the thing, through all of this, Diddy has been maintaining his innocence like it's his job. His lawyers have been working overtime to paint this picture of him as this devoted family man and philanthropist who's spent decades building his empire and giving back to the community. They're claiming this whole thing is nothing but a coordinated attack to destroy his reputation and raid his bank account. And talk about bold moves. Diddy's legal team just filed this massive $50 million defamation lawsuit against one of the witnesses, Courtney Burgess, and her lawyer, Ariel Mitchell. They're accusing them of making up these wild stories about alleged recordings involving Diddy and other high-profile figures. His team is saying these lies haven't just damaged his reputation. They've poisoned the jury pool so badly that getting a fair trial might be impossible.
Diddy is now suing. So according to our friends over at Us Magazine, Diddy, who remains in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center while he awaits trial. Us Weekly writes this. It says Sean Diddy Combs has filed a defamation lawsuit against one of his accusers, their attorney, and News Nation.
Let me tell you something. The stakes in this case couldn't be higher. If Diddy's found guilty, we're talking about the possibility of him spending the rest of his life behind bars. But his legal team? They're fighting like their lives depend on it. They're questioning everything, the evidence, the motives of his accusers, and they're working harder than a PR team during a crisis to reshape the story of this man who was once considered a pioneer in the music industry. Whether Diddy can save his reputation is still up in the air, but one thing's for certain. This case has become one of the biggest scandals we've seen in years. It's a story that has everything: power, privilege, and the lengths someone will go to protect their legacy. And honey, with so many questions still unanswered, you better believe the whole world will be watching to see what happens next.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
As this absolutely wild saga continues to unfold, everyone's asking the same questions. Could Diddy's legal team really pull off the impossible and dismantle the case against him? Or is this all just a desperate attempt to avoid facing the music? And if he does get released, will he actually take that dramatic step of fleeing the country, or will he stay and fight to clear his name? Let me tell you something. This debate is far from over, and your opinions matter more than ever. What do you think about all of this drama? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is just getting started. Until next time, stay tuned for more updates on this absolutely incredible story that keeps getting more shocking by the minute. Goodbye for now, dolls. There you have it. Every shocking detail of this ongoing saga served piping hot. The way this story keeps evolving, I have a feeling we'll be talking about it for a long time to come. The entertainment world has never seen anything quite like this, and something tells me we haven't seen the last of the surprises in store. The surprises in store.